You know the feeling, right? You're a leader. You're rolling out a change that you know is absolutely vital for the company, but you just hit a wall of resistance. And you realize the problem isn't the new software, it's not the org chart, it's the people. Well, today, we're diving deep into the art and the science of leading people through change, not just managing a checklist. And this quote from William Bridges, it really gets to the heart of the whole thing. See, we always frame change around what we're gaining, but for your team, it's all about what they're losing. They're losing comfort, routine, maybe even a sense of competence. And if you, as the leader, can't see the change through that lens, you're already behind. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at why the stakes are just so high. Then we'll get into the psychology of why people push back. From there, we'll build a real, practical playbook for communication and leadership. And finally, we'll map out a smart rollout and leave you with one critical mindset shift. Let's get into it.
All right, let's start with the cold, hard truth. Why is it so crucial to get this right? Because honestly, most organizations are failing at it. And the numbers? Well, they're pretty alarming.
Just look at this. Only 43% of employees have any confidence that their company can manage change well. Let that sink in. Less than half. And what's worse, that number has tanked, down from almost 60% just a few years ago. The trust you need to lead your team through something difficult, it's not just low, it's actively disappearing. And that collapse in trust, it has real costs. It's a domino effect, you know? Morale drops, productivity grinds to a halt, and those big, important projects just fail. This isn't some soft, fuzzy HR issue. This is a direct hit to your bottom line. Which brings us to the million-dollar question. If the stakes are this high, why do so many smart leaders keep getting it wrong? Well, it's because we're usually focused on the wrong thing. The problem isn't in our project plan. It's in our failure to understand people. And this brings us to a huge shift in how we need to think about this. Resistance isn't some character flaw. It's not malice. It's a completely normal, predictable human reaction. Seriously, this is science. When change feels forced on us, our brains can't tell the difference between a new software rollout and, say, a tiger in the room. It triggers the exact same threat response. The same parts of our brain associated with fear and loss of control light up. So we have to stop treating resistance like it's insubordination and start seeing it for what it is, a survival instinct. This slide just captures the disconnect perfectly. It's like leadership and the employees are watching two completely different movies. Up in the C-suite, they see a story about progress, growth, and a brilliant strategic vision. But down on the ground, your team is watching a horror film full of uncertainty, loss of control, and major disruptions to their life. You're not even speaking the same language. And let's get really specific about what's going through their heads. These are the real questions bouncing around. Am I going to look stupid trying to use this new system? Is this change going to make my job obsolete? Why are they messing with my routine? And can I really truly trust that leadership has my back here? Your entire change strategy lives or dies on your ability to answer these questions. So if we get the psychology, how do we actually start to build a bridge across that divide? The answer is a communication playbook built around one simple, incredibly powerful idea. Meet the WIIFM rule. What's in it for me? You have to understand that every single message you send out about corporate goals, about synergy, about strategic imperatives is being instantly filtered through this one deeply personal question. How does this affect my job, my stress levels, my career? Your job isn't to talk about the company. It's to translate the company's goals into a compelling answer to that question. So here's our first practical strategy. Acknowledge and validate. Before you even think about talking, you have to listen. Imagine you're in a hostile meeting. Here's a script. You open with this. Look, we know this change brings up a lot of questions. This meeting isn't for us to convince you of anything. It's for us to hear you out. What are your biggest concerns right now? By listening first, you show respect and you get the real intel you need to solve the right problems. And that leads to our second strategy. Translate vision into personal value. So instead of a generic, fear-inducing announcement like, hey everyone, we're moving to a new office, which just makes everyone worry about their commute, you lead with the WIIFM. You give them the script. You say something like, in our new space, we will have a dedicated room for an in-house childcare center. Now, notice what that does. It doesn't talk about productivity. It solves a real personal problem. It's tangible, it's valuable, and it proves you're thinking about them as people. But look, a great script is not enough. Your words can build a bridge, sure, but only your actions will actually get people to walk across it. This is where leadership has to move beyond just talking and into visible, consistent action. And the data on this is just crystal clear. Research from ProSci consistently shows that the single biggest predictor of success in any change initiative is active and visible executive sponsorship. This is non-negotiable. Leaders can't just announce the plan and then disappear. They have to be seen on the front lines every day, living the change. So what does active and visible actually look like? Well, this is strategy number 3, embody the change. The leader has to be the project's chief owner, its main translator, and its engine. They own the ultimate goal, they're the one who explains what the big strategy means for individual teams, and they're the ones keeping the momentum going. They are personally responsible for keeping this train on the tracks. And now for a really powerful 4th strategy, a real power move. Enlist your toughest critics. Instead of trying to silence your biggest skeptics, bring them onto the planning team. When they point out a flaw, you don't get defensive. You say, "That is an excellent point I hadn't thought of. How would you recommend we solve for that?" By empowering them to fix the plan, you turn their resistance into ownership. And trust me, when everyone else sees your most vocal critic get on board, their endorsement is worth more than 1,000 emails from you. Okay, so we've got the right mindset, we've got the leadership commitment. Now, how do we actually execute this thing? Because a chaotic rollout can destroy all that hard work in an instant. A strategic plan isn't a nice to have, it's everything. And that plan involves our final 3 strategies. Strategy number 5, chunk the change. Break this massive initiative into smaller, bite-sized phases. It makes it feel doable, not terrifying. 6, and this is so important, arm them for success. You have to invest in training. You can't ask people to do things a new way and not give them the tools and the confidence to succeed. And finally, strategy 7, manufacture momentum. You need to plan for and celebrate short-term wins along the way to prove to everyone that this is actually working. And let's just double-click on that training piece for a second. A recent LinkedIn report found that 88% of employees would stay at a company longer if that company invested in their learning. So providing great training during a period of change, it's not just a cost. It is a powerful retention tool that shows your people you're invested in their future, not just the company's. Okay, we've covered the psychology, communication, and 7 practical strategies. But all of this, it all comes down to one final crucial shift in how you think as a leader. If you only take one thing away today, please let it be this. Stop managing change, start leading transitions. See, you can't manage fear. You can't put empathy on a Gantt chart. A process is just a thing. Your people are human beings. Your real job isn't to oversee a project plan. It's to guide other humans from a place of fear and uncertainty to a new reality with confidence and with your full support. So I'm going to leave you with this question. Think about the next big initiative coming down the pipeline at your company. Look at the plan you have for it and ask yourself, honestly, are you just setting up to manage a process, or are you preparing to truly lead your people? Because your answer to that question will define whether you succeed or fail.